Welcome back. These are grammar lessons for Year 3 and 4 children, and this is Week 3, Lesson 2. Our learning objective for this lesson is to understand what a clause is. So by the end of this work, you will be able to identify a main clause. You will also be able to identify a subordinate clause, and you will even be able to join clauses together using conjunctions. Now, we touched on this yesterday, so let's recap. What is a clause? Sentences are made up of clauses. A clause is a part of a sentence, and it must contain a verb and a subject. If we have a look at these examples here, Helen ate an apple. Helen is the subject in our sentence, the person doing the action, and ate is a verb. In this example, it crept away. It is the subject. In this case, we've used a pronoun, and crept is the verb. If a sentence has got a verb and a subject, then it can be classed as a clause. A main clause is the clause in the sentence which contains the main idea or action. For example, Joshua put on his coat. We have a subject, Joshua. We have a verb, put. And this clause here gives us the main piece of information that we need to know. A subordinate clause in a sentence contains extra information or detail. It usually begins with a conjunction, and it doesn't make sense on its own. Have a look at this example. Joshua put on his coat. We know that's the main clause because it was cold outside. Here's our subordinating conjunction. Because it was cold outside gives us some extra information about our main clause, but it doesn't make sense on its own. A complex sentence is a sentence with a main clause and a subordinate clause. The clauses in a complex sentence can usually be rearranged. I've had a go myself. Joshua put on his coat because it was cold outside can become, because it was cold outside, Joshua put on his coat. We have switched our main clause from the beginning of our sentence to the end of our sentence, and in this case we have started our sentence with our subordinating conjunction. And because we've done that, we've also had to remember to include a comma. Here are some complex sentences for you to have a look at. Can you identify the different parts of this sentence? Although it was bedtime, the two brothers were still playing in the garden. Have a little think about it. Where is the main clause? Where is the subordinate clause? And which word is the subordinating conjunction? What did you think? In this case, although is our subordinating conjunction. It belongs at the beginning of our sentence. And the two brothers were still playing in the garden is our main clause. Remember, it stands alone by itself as a sentence. It gives us the main information we need. The two brothers were still playing in the garden is our main clause. although it was bedtime, is our subordinate clause. Well done if you spotted those correctly. Let's have a look at another sentence. Can you identify the different parts of this sentence? Sally was not allowed to watch television until she had finished all her homework. Have a think about it. Which is the main clause? Which is the subordinate clause? And what word in this sentence is the subordinating conjunction? What did you think? Well, in this sentence, until is our subordinating conjunction. Hopefully, if you looked back at the list of subordinating conjunctions that I gave you, you will have spotted until. Sally was not allowed to watch television is our main clause. This gives us the main piece of information we need. And this time our main clause was at the beginning of our sentence. That means until she had finished all her homework is the subordinate clause. It gives us some extra information, but it can't stand on its own as a sentence. Now it's your turn to have a go. Have a look at this sheet, print it off if you are able, but don't worry if you can't. Practice identifying your main clauses and your subordinate clauses, and I will see you tomorrow.